Welcome to the Blender Retopo overview. My name's Charles. I'll be helping you with this new feature. It's really a lot of fun, but it's very difficult to get going on at first, I thought. It took me about a half an hour to figure out a good workflow, so I figured I'd do a video and try and help out new users of this just wonderful new feature. So this is my default cube scene. We're going to get rid of it, and we're going to go into the top view. Keypad or numpad 7. I like to center my cursor. I'm going to move it up a little bit, and you'll see why in a second. That's where we want the object to be coming in. Okay. We're going to add a plane and then delete all of the vertices in it. You can see over here we have the Retopo buttons, which only appear when you're in edit mode for an object, a mesh object. So you can watch them disappear there. Let me just get closer here. And we're going to delete these vertices. And now that we have nothing, we're going to use the Retopo tools to add some geometry in. We can just kind of draw it in. So we'll first move this little header over. And you see this button here that says Limit Selection to Visible? That has to be off, or Retopo just won't work. That drove me nuts for a little while until I read the stuff correctly. So we're going to use Retopo, which is over here, and we're going to use the paint. You can see we have three nice tools at the bottom: pen, line, ellipse. I'm choosing the pen tool. And we're just going to do some nice squiggly lines. It's basically like drawing in Photoshop. I'm using a Wacom tablet. Oops. Okay, let me just hit Control-Z to undo that. There we go. And I think I want a little bit more stuff in the middle, so I'm just going to draw one more line. And then I'll hit Enter to drop the lines. And we have polygons. Now, as you can see, there's some errors here. I'm going to zoom in and see what happened. Turn Retopo off when you're doing edits that don't require it. It looks like, I guess one of my lines wasn't very clean. So I'm going to move that point over. Now, you know what? I'm going to delete that edge, I think. Yeah. And you can always go back in and select points and hit F to make a face. Okay. When you're done with your Retopo, you always want to select all of the points and then recalculate the normals, because a lot of the time it creates normals that are a little woodgy. So now we have that, and let's see what else we can do with it. We'll go back into the edit mode, we'll deselect everything, turn Retopo back on, turn back paint on. Let's try the line tool. Let's just draw straight lines like you'd expect. And I have no idea what I'm making, but it's kind of fun just laying these down. I'm going to put that one there, and cut this here, and cut that, and another one. Yeah, bring it down. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Hit Enter, and voila, it made polygons. Now, it can make 3-point and 4-point polygons just fine, but it has trouble with anything more, so you got to be careful. Let's try the ellipse tool. I'll draw just a big ellipse. I'll draw a smaller ellipse. And we'll switch to the pen tool and just draw in some things to... So I'm making squares, as you can see. That way, when I drop the tool using the Enter key, it'll make nice polygons. And I hit Enter, and I have a mouth. Yay! So this is a great tool for doing all kinds of geometry editing. And you can create new geometry very easily and what have you. So I'm going to get rid of this for now. We're going to try to create some other geometry. Go back into Paint, go into the Pen tool, and I'm just going to draw. So give me a second. Notice I'm very intentionally making my lines go past the point where I want them to go, so that we can have those cross sections, and so the tool knows where to be building the faces. Uh-oh, I've left an edge off there. I'm going to leave it for now just so we can see what happens when we do that. I'm going to finish up all the other spots. Maybe thicken it up in the middle here. Add one more line. Add a line down. Another line down. Oh, looks pretty good. And then we hit... Oh, no, let's do the middle too. There we go. Okay, now I'll hit Enter. And we have this horrible hole. Oh no, what am I going to do? Well, that's the wonderful thing about the Retopo tools. They're all integrated with the undo system, so all I have to do is hit Control Z. Oh, look at that, it's back. Now see this circle in the end? If I hover over a line that's already been drawn and then draw, I can extend that line, do whatever I want with it. So I'll just hover over that one and extend it out, and then hit Enter again. Boom. We have this nice kind of hand-sketched organic looking H. Recalculate my normals, and boom. I'm going to add one more letter. Come back over. You always have to turn the paint on after you've dropped the tool when you're painting. So I'm having trouble with the capture program. It's not getting, oh, that was ugly. Undo. It's not getting all of my pen strokes. That's okay. Like I just showed you before, we can always extend the ones that don't come out as long as we'd like. Or you can hit undo and redraw it. Either way is fine. Okay. Just draw that there, draw this down, and voila, we have an eye. How exciting. So you can see we can use the Retopo tools not just to redo topology, but to create completely new topology from anything you want to do and draw it out. Now remember I put the cursor up high. Whenever you are drawing, the geometry ends up on the plane where the object's origin is, where that little white dot is. So that's something to remember. We were drawing in the top viewport, so it's aligned to it's parallel to the top viewport along that object's orientation. So if I draw in the 3D viewport, what happens? Let's find out. I'll just draw like I did before and hit enter. Oh, and it gets snapped down to a flat point. It seems to be kind of unpredictable at the moment, so the best thing to do is to stick to one of the orthogonal viewports like top, left, or right. I'm just going to get rid of those. Okay, now the fun part. So we can also use these tools to project one set of geometry onto another set. I'm going to put a plane underneath the high right there. Okay. Just scale it up, scale it to the side a bit. Let's just move it. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to subdivide it because we need to have a bit of roughness to it. And then I did this earlier, so I already know I'm going to do subdivide fractal, 4 cuts, and Rand factor of 4. It seems to make the nicest bumpiness, in my opinion. So we get this kind of bumpy look to it. I want it a bit bumpier, so I'm going to scale up on the z-axis just so that there's more contrast between the low spots and the high spots. And that's pretty cool. A little bit more. Yeah, that should be alright. Okay. So we're going to project the high down onto this thing down here. I'm going to just smooth it off, and then we're going to... I can hardly see it right now. So, let's see. Let's change the color. We'll make it, how about a red? A nice happy red. Just so that it stands out better against that gray background. There we go. Okay. So, you see how this is very bumpy here. When we project it down, the high is going to take the same bumps. It's going to kind of move all the points to the right spots. Not too many points here, so let's... Oh, you know what? First we should. We're going to turn the Retopo tool again. Okay, and hit... we could hit the Retopo all. Yeah. It goes down. But it goes right through the object because there aren't the same number of points, and it looks terrible. You can go over here to the settings and change the value of X-ray to on, and that'll kind of allow you to see the object over top of the other objects. And as you can see here, it's all bumpy, and it's aligned well with the underlying floor plane or whatever we've just added there. Okay. Now I'm just going to undo that, and let's say we didn't want it exactly there. Well, I'm going to scale it down a bit, move it over, and we're going to do the same thing again. Boom. And now it's projected down onto that spot. I don't know exactly what kind of uses this could have as far as modeling goes. I haven't figured out what I'm going to use it for, but it's just such an interesting tool, and it feels like it's going to be very useful for certain things in the future. Yeah. I'm going to show you some other things next. I'm just going to add a UV sphere here. It doesn't really matter how big it is or anything. I'm just going to realign it so it goes up and smooth it off. The other thing about the Retopo tools is that in 3D viewports you can actually draw geometry right on another surface. So let's we have the cursor centered on the object, right? We're going to add another plane. We're going to delete these points. Okay. And then make sure the X-ray is on, and I'm going to use the same red from before so that when the faces get created we'll be able to see it. Okay. Come back here, we'll turn on Retopo. Okay, we're not going to use paint, we're going to control click to add points along the face of the sphere. So let's see, what am I going to draw first? How about a mouth? Okay. And yeah, that's getting annoying. Let me just turn off that widget. Okay. That's better. Last point, we just select the two of them and hit F to create an edge. Okay. And then if we rotate around this object, hey, it's stuck right to the surface of the sphere. Okay. So, I mean, I've added a mouth. I guess next I'll add an eye. Make sure our topo's still on. Go in, deselect. And just keeping control clicking all the way through. The last ones, I select another vertex and hit F to link them together. We have an eye. Now, since there's geometry behind it this time, we can use the paint tool. Okay. And I'm going to draw some lines to add some extra polygons around this eye, so we have something to link to. Just going to curve around, Okay, and let's zoom in a bit. You notice the line zoom too. It's really great. Be careful with those circles because you don't want to be extending other lines. It just confuses the system. So we'll add these, we'll add that, and I'm just going to drop this and see what it looks like. Yeah, okay. And you can see it's aligned to the sphere, but we don't have enough points in there. We don't have enough lines drawn in. So we're going to draw some more in. I'm going to try to match it up with these vertices in the original eye that I drew. Just add lines to add extra geometry. Should be enough. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, that's good. So now we have another line, another row of polygons, or a loop, I guess, around the eye. And you know, once this is done, you can go in and fill in all these spots with the Retopo tool still on if you need. I don't like that. There we go. And fill in these ones and fill in those ones. And I can't really see that spot there, so I'm going to switch back to yeah, it's too difficult. Oh, you know what? This is a good example, or a good time to show another trick with the Retopo tools. I'm going to select those vertexes with Retopo on, and I'm going to move them over. And look at that, they stayed stuck to the sphere. So you can draw things on and then you can move them around and they'll still be aligned properly. So I'll move these ones up. I'll space these out a little bit better. And yeah, they're all perfectly aligned with that sphere in the background. And now I can come in here and I think I'm going to weld those. Okay. And I can finish the line around my eye. Okay. Select all, and we have all these ugly black things, so recalculate normals, the control N. And we have the beginning of a very gorgeous Jester style model. So this is the end of my overview for Retopo. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it helps. If you have any questions, you can always find me on the Blender Artist forums.